Welcome along to this month's synth tutorial with computer music, and this month we're going to look exclusively at the Zebra CM plugin and particularly the oscillator section and how to create some really cool movement up front. So the first thing you'll need to do is load your DAW and then your Zebra CM plugin. Now once the plugin has loaded, it should load up with an initialized patch which sounds like this. Now, you can check that you've got that initialized patch by going to the very central readout just below where it says computer music on the plugin, and if you click there, you should be able to select UH initialize. Now already there's quite a bit going on with that sound, and we want to start from a really basic starting point. So we're going to make some adjustments to change the sound we're hearing so we can create our own patch from scratch. The first thing we need to do is to go to the Oscillator 1 section, which is towards the top of the plugin. And you'll see directly below where it says Oscillator 1, there's a little box that has dual written in it. This refers to the number of aliased waveforms that are being created by the oscillator, and we want to reduce it to a single wave. So we're going to click in that box and set it to single, which then means we should only hear a single wave. However, we're also currently hearing Oscillator 2, so we need to switch Oscillator 2 off by going over to the Oscillator 2 section and turning the volume down. Now this means we need to make an alteration to a pot, and all the pots in the Zebra plugin work in the same way. You just have to click and hold in the center of the pot and drag the value up or down. In this case we're dragging it down to take the value down to 0. And now the sound we're hearing should be nice and centered and sound like this. Now already we've still got some things going on, in particular in the filter section, so we're going to go to the filter section and make 3 distinct changes. Over on the far right hand side where it says filter, we're going to go to the pot that says ENV2, click and hold on that and put it at the 12 o'clock position so that the central readout reads 0. We're then going to go to the pot that says keyfol and we're going to change that to 0. And then finally we're going to go to the large pot that's labelled cutoff and we're going to turn that up to its absolute maximum, which will read 150. We should now hear a sound that sounds very bright and rich like this. So now let's start exploring the waveforms available to us on Oscillator 1. If we go to the wave pot in the Oscillator 1 section and play a sound, we can then move in real time the wave pot. Now what we're hearing there is a series of waves that are all lined up in a queue. This is sometimes referred to as Wavetable. And what we're doing is hearing them and scrolling through them. Now that's obviously a very, very cool effect, and it's a sort of effect that would be really helpful to put under some kind of control elsewhere in the synthesizer. We're going to use an LFO, a low frequency oscillator, specifically for this purpose. Now helpfully, Oscillator 1 automatically has access to an LFO right next door to the wave control. So if I turn up LFO G1 a little bit and also make sure that the wave control is turned up a little bit, the wave pot, when we play a sound we get this. And we can hear there's very slight undulation there. The undulation amount will be altered by the LFO G1 pot. So if we set it to less, there's less movement. If we set it to more, there's a greater movement. Also notice that its centric point is governed by the position of the wave pot. Now this is a really great way of creating movement right up front with the oscillator for things like pads or drones. Now let's look at the LFO section, and if we move down towards the bottom right hand side of the plugin, you'll see that there's a tab that's labelled LFO Global, and if we click on that, the details relating to that FO will become apparent to us. First of all, we have a rate control. That controls the speed of the oscillation. You'll notice when you speed it up it creates an almost tremolo-like effect. But for the moment we're going to set it to 100 or 12 o'clock. Now we're going to do a very cool trick which is going to require us to change the waveform. Now at the moment the waveform we have selected is a sine wave. It undulates going up and then down. And helpfully there's a graphic here which is showing us the shape of that wave. What we're going to do now is go to the waveform box where it says sine, click on it, and we're going to select random hold. And that gives us this effect. Now, what it's doing there is it's taking a randomized value and it's sending it effectively to the wave pot. This is really cool because what it means is that we can create step-like movements. And also, using the rate control, we can change the speed of those movements. Now, very helpfully, the Zebra LFOs lock automatically to the tempo of your DAW. That means that whatever the tempo is that you have set in your master DAW package, the Zebra should follow it and the LFOs should snap into synchronization with it. Also helpfully, you can change the level of synchronization by going to the sync box, which is just above the waveform box. There is one curious little operational factor to do with the synchronization, and you might notice that although the synchronization is currently set to 1/1 or whole note, it seems to be changing faster. That's because it's to do with the nature of a complete cycle of a wave. So the straightforward way of using this is whatever note value you think you want, select double that value in the sync box and you'll get what you need. So for example, if we select half note, we will get quarter notes. If we select quarter notes, we will get eighth notes or quavers. If we select eighth notes, we will get 16th notes or semiquavers. Now, one last cool trick that we can try is to send the same LFO to the filter section. This is going to require us to take one of the pots and assign it to the global LFO. Now, this is quite easy to do. We're merely going to press Control on the keyboard and press click on the pot itself, at which point we can select LFO G1, and that is now assignable to the cutoff frequency of the filter. The more we turn it up, just like on the oscillator, the greater the effect that it would actually have. And if we move the cutoff lower, we'll start to hear the tone change in terms of brightness. And you can hear sometimes the sound almost disappears completely. That's because the cutoff is effectively being turned all the way down. But it's being automated by the LFO. For further colour, you can turn up the resonance control, at which point you'll resonate the point of cutoff. Creating a very pure tone at the point of cutoff. You might need to be a little careful as to how much of that you apply because it's generating pure sines, and because of that, those pure tones can be quite devastating to a mix. So, armed with that, we now have a really cool and interesting sound. And just as a final little production detail to complement our cool sound, I'm going to go to my standard Logic plugins and I'm going to load up a stereo delay. Very cool indeed. So I hope you've enjoyed this month's tutorial. Do try and create some of your own sounds by just using the oscillator. And we'll be back next month with more tips and tricks for the Zebra.